Hello, the Pioneer viewers. How are you? I hope you're healthy and well. Today, I will be in front of you again, and I will share the latest developments in the Russia-Ukraine war with a map. The front line is moving. We have already mentioned that there are tactical retreats by the Ukrainian army at some points. The process continues. This current withdrawal should never be interpreted as a great defeat, because this withdrawal is necessary. Let's think like this. The more you stretch a bow, the further the arrow goes, right? We can evaluate this retreat in this way. The Ukrainian armed forces are actually strengthening the bow with this move. The winter conditions will already put the front line in a very difficult situation. And you have also mentioned in our previous reports, winter conditions will increase desertion and mutinies in the Russian army. Who will benefit from this? Of course, the Ukrainian armed forces. So what is the latest situation on the front line? Let's take a look at the developments together. The Pioneer team continues to bring the Russia-Ukraine war to your screens with a report prepared every day. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so don't miss our daily map reports and reports on the agenda. You can also support me and my team by using the super thanks button below the video. We need your support to carry out this report activity. Let's start if you are ready, the Pioneer reports. Let's start with the Kherson front line. Here I would like to share with you some information from the Russian sources. Let's take a closer look at the area where the map Delta Islets are located. Exactly there. You can see the island north of Belgorod, right? As you can see from the map, this is seen as a neutral zone. It is a conflict zone. This island is called Potemkin Island in the sources. It is a strategic point. Here is the information that Russian sources report with a great concern about this island. According to the Russian sources, the Ukrainian armed forces began to deploy on the islands of Potemkin. So what does this mean? According to the Russian sources, the Ukrainian armed forces have created a new target for themselves. This target is Ola Pristan. Therefore, Russian sources who are worried that the Ukrainian troops will attack Ola Pristan in a short time are calling for reinforcement to the war leadership. Since the beginning of the fighting on the Kherson front line, the Ukrainian army has been carrying out artillery attacks on this area, namely Ola Pristan. However, there was no infantry attack. Therefore, the Russian fortifications here are not yet at the sufficient level. It is logical that the Russian sources are worried. There has not yet been any move from the Russian war leadership and management to improve the situation in the region. At least, this is what our information shows. Ola Pristan. As you can see, it is located just south of the island. It is also very strategic positions for the motorway along the Dnieper River. Can the Ukrainian armed forces capture this town? We don't know yet. However, the fact that the Russian sources are worried clearly shows us that this possibility is quite high. Intense counter-clashes continue in the direction of Krinky, one of the mobile points of the Kherson front line. According to the latest reports, Russian troops in the region suffered heavy losses during these clashes. Ukrainian troops continue their efforts to expand their fortifications and bridgeheads in the region. It is possible to say that there will be a change in the region in the coming days, but it is not possible to predict the exact time. Let us continue with the artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces targeted Ukrainian armed forces positions in Kherson, Antonovka, Tokarevka, Pointsnanovka, and Taigininka. In turn, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted positions of the Russian armed forces in Olapristan, Krasnoshinka, Alyoshki, Poima, Pechanovka, and Krusunka. Now let's look at the Zaporizhia front line. There has been increased activity on the Zaporizhia front line in recent days. We know that the Ukrainian armed forces have made strategic retreats in some areas. One of these areas is the Robotny sector of the Zaporizhia front line. According to the latest reports, Ukrainian troops have abandoned some positions south of Robotny and some positions around Novoprokopivka. Some of these troops there have been shifted to the defense of Avdiivka. However, the Ukrainian army is largely in control of the area. Nevertheless, in the direction of Verbov, the Ukrainian armed forces launched an offensive after intensive shelling. Ukrainian troops have not yet abandoned the Verbov target. There are intense attacks. However, there has not yet been a border change in the region. The Russian defense line in the region is quite strong. Therefore, it is quite normal that there is still no progress. Let's talk about artillery activity. According to the latest reports, Russian artillery units targeted Ukrainian armed forces positions in Karmenskoye, Petyahatsky, Novodanilovka, Malaya Tokmakcha, Chervony, and Guliapol. On the other hand, the artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted elements of the Russian armed forces in Zhorybyanki, Kupani, Novoprokopivka, Verbov, Novopokrovka, and Novofedoryovka. Let's continue with the Donetsk front line. The Russian military offensive in this area continues. The Ukrainian armed forces have dispatched troops from several regions to stop the Russian offensive there. According to the latest reports, elements of the Russian armed forces supported by long-range weapons carried out offensive operations in Novomykhailovka, Pobeda, Marinka, and the approaches the town of Krasnogorovka near Permoskoye, east of Avdiivka towards Tonekhoe and near the industrial zone in the northeast. It is alleged that there are some Russian gains northeast of Avdiivka. However, we have not yet been able to confirm this information. On the other hand, Russian forces also attacked the Novobakhmutovka area, but there is no result. Ukrainian defense forces in the region managed to repel the Russian attacks. During the day, Russian artillery continued to target elements of the Ukrainian armed forces stations in Gorogorivka, Ostrog, Novelskoye, Lastochkin, Stepnon, and Berdychky. On the other hand, heavy shelling by the Ukrainian troops inflicted heavy losses on the Russian army in the direction of Makiivka. Let's briefly look at the latest situation on the Bakhmut front line. According to the latest reports, the area around Avdiivka and Klishchiivka is quite active. We see that the Russian artillery shelled heavily in the direction of Andriivka. Russian infantry units then launched an attack on Andriivka, but without success. On the dominant hills around Klishchiivka, the Ukrainian armed forces have abandoned a number of their positions. We cannot yet predict what this situation will lead to. However, we can say that it is quite a significant loss. We also see that the Russian army carried out offensive operations near Ivanivsky and Bogdanivka, but there is no result. The Ukrainian army is defending its positions. What do you think? How do you evaluate the Ukrainian army's tactical withdrawal decisions? Will they be able to retake the areas they retreated? Should the Ukrainian army be provided with ammunition support? Do you think the Russian army will be able to compensate for its losses on the front where it suffered heavy losses? What do you think that the Ukrainian army should do? Let me know in the comments. I read and care about all your comments.